Welcome to the DSPN.
Team New Zealand's in trouble.
Goal! He's done it again, Ricky Hogan.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin, Devlin, Lachlan Waugh, the DSPN. We have hit just over 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, so thank you very much for that. If you like what you're looking at, what you're listening to, we put out a podcast every single afternoon around about 4:30, talking about all the day's sports news. It's out on Rover, DSPN, or here on YouTube. Share, like, subscribe, leave us a comment, and try and get back to as many as possible. Thank you so much for that. We want to get to 5,000 subscribers as quick as possible. If you can help us, hit that subscribe. On the show today, Greg Martin from Oz, Super Bowl chat with our mate HK Wong out of New York City, and the doyen Brendan Telfer for his weekly rave. We're talking Beauden Barrett backing NZR's eligibility stance. Steve Smith scores his 10,000th test run. Latrell Mitchell is going to be available for South's NRL opener. Lewis Hamilton crashed during testing. Champions League. And our fastest man over 60 metres outdoors wants to challenge our fastest All Blacks to a sprint off. We begin the show the same way every day, talking, in fact, about that.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
His name is Tiaan Whelpton, and he's challenged the All Blacks to a sprint off. He wants to race our fastest All Blacks, that's Will Jordan, Caleb, Beauden, Mackenzie, Mark Talaya, whoever, in a 100-metre showdown to raise awareness about his sport and help us Kiwis understand just how quick he really is. Well, I think we already know that bit, don't we? Anyone who watches the Olympics is very aware how quick the sprinters are, and there's not a sports fan anywhere in the world who doesn't know what Usain Bolt has achieved. The reality is, Whelpton, who runs his fastest 110.14, would scorch any All Black who took up the challenge. In the past, guys like Doug Howlett and Rokithoko have hit 10.66, 10.7s, but our fastest All Blacks these days are more like an 11.2 for that sort of distance, meaning they'd finish a good 10 or more metres behind. And who wants to watch that? I hate seeing the All Blacks lose at anything, even a sprint off. Would it be good for a charity event? Probably. Will it ever actually happen, though? Probably not. It's a great idea on paper, and it's good for Tiaan for being forward enough and creative enough to suggest, but I fail to see what the All Blacks involved would get out of it, apart from being shown up by a guy who's a specialist in a sport that they're not. So maybe the fairer race would be for everyone to do it ball in hand and rugby boots. How about that, Tiaan? Throw in a few random tacklers you've got to dodge along the way, and now we've evened the playing field. Our top All Blacks are fast, but they're not Tiaan Whelpton fast. Whelpton says he'd whip them. That's his quote, he'd whip them. And he's right. Just like what they'd do to him playing a game of full tackle sprint on grass.
DSPN.
He's back. Oh, he's our favourite Aussie. Greg Martin played number 15 for the Wallabies, breakfast host for Triple M out of Brisbane. And a man who knows less about technology than this one that you're looking at. But we both love that about each other, don't we, mate? It's for the young folk, isn't it?
You don't need technology to advance in life, mate. Well, maybe you do. Maybe that's what's holding us back. I don't know. I can't believe I'm your favourite Aussie. You mustn't know any.
Well, I tell you what, it might have been those guys that heckled Novak or heckled Shelton or whatever it was at the Aussie Open. I quite like that crowd, actually. I think that there's something about that Aussie Open that, I don't know, it's doing something for tennis. It makes tennis fun.
Alcohol makes tennis fun. That's what occurred there. But the people who are going off, they're the drunkest people there. And you've seen tennis. When something goes for 4 hours between two sportistic people, you need to be drunk to watch it.
Rugby is back. Tomorrow, your Queensland Reds play the Bristol Bears. I know it's only pre-season, mate, but we're dipping our toe in.
Well, we're trying to be as supportive as possible. We're their radio station, so long way to go. Are you guys doing any of this? They're playing Ulster and Bristol. They've gone over there. They're training indoors, which is weird when they play here in Queensland and Brisbane. Big move for Super Rugby. I don't know, because normally they just play a trial out Toowoomba or somewhere like that. This year they've gone all out. So don't worry, the Reds are keen. I don't think I care about the results, though. Do you ever care about pre-season matches? Does it mean nothing?
Look, they are meaningless. The results are absolutely irrelevant. Here in New Zealand, the biggest game tomorrow is actually in a little place called Kirwi. 3,000 people in rural Canterbury get to, the Blues and Crusaders get to go to their rugby club. So, look, it's about combinations, isn't it? And it's about no injuries, and it's just about getting on the grass again. And this time, this one is actually about grassroots. But this says to me that the Reds are serious,
mate. It's about? All those young fellas, all the 20-year-olds that you've been using for cannon fodder for the last 4 months and you've been making them train, you've been killing them and they've been vomiting after training, you give them 20 minutes in this trial and they're happy, and that keeps them coming back. So you just give them a little bit of treat, like a dog treat, and they'll obey things. So that's what trials are about. The first one especially, it's nonsense, the first preseason trial. The one after, you start getting ready for Super Rugby.
Yeah, because it kicks off on, get this, Valentine's Day, Friday the 14th. Isn't that absolutely perfect? So if you're arranging something that night, fellas, why are we going out for dinner so early? Oh, no real reason. Why are we going out for lunch on Valentine's Day? Oh, everything else was booked. And then, of course, you're in front of the tally at 7:05 for kickoff time. How good?
How good to take a girl on a first date to a Super Rugby match on Valentine's Day. As you know, I commentated for Fox for 25 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Don't forget, it started on Valentine's Day every one of those years. So my wife hates Valentine's Day, so she doesn't even know it exists, to tell you the truth. So I'm safe. And
don't pretend you haven't missed it. I can't wait, mate. I mean, I know, look, there's been rugby going on.
Valentine's Day or sex?
I was talking about Super Rugby. See, this weekend as well, we got the Six Nations and that crackerjack match on Sunday, Ireland playing England. I love the Six Nations like you love the Six Nations. Rugby season is starting again. And Yahoo, I know we say it's too long every year, mate, but have you missed it? I've missed it.
Of course we have, but at least we had a good cricket series. But you know, you probably don't even know, Australia are in Sri Lanka right now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. We saw your mate Steve Smith score his 10,000th run. I mean, doff your cap to the guy, but I'm still bitter and twisted about that whole TFS load of bollocks after the sandpaper. I hang on to things like a Serbian does, mate.
Yeah, that's the bit
Irish
too
Catholic.
Much. Steve Smith has served his time. How many Kiwis have scored more than 10,000 runs?
Kane Williamson?
No. Has he?
He'd be the only one that'd be getting close. No one else.
It's rarefied air that no Kiwi has ever tasted.
Okay.
And that's the thing. So that pitch they're playing on in Sri Lanka, and this is how desperate I am. I've been watching the test between Australia and Sri Lanka. I saw 2 planes land on it yesterday. That's how flat this bloody thing is. And the only reason I'm watching it is because Married at First Sight's on. And what's that other one? I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of the Jungle or whatever. There's rubbish on TV in January. That's why football is in the perfect position to take advantage.
Can I tell you what our Sky Sport are giving us here at the moment, right? So, so there's Australia versus Sri Lanka playing a test match. We get Sri Lanka versus Australia under-19 World Women's Championship cricket from Borneo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's winning?
Not us, the viewer, mate.
We go.
Not us, the viewer. I tell you that. Sevens in Perth. Did you even know it was on?
Yes, of course I knew it was on. I used to commentate it.
Yeah, I know.
And plus, my mate, Brendan Telfer, used to play for the Wallabies with me. His daughter is the captain. Hold on, this is a long one. His daughter's the captain of the team now. And we won and we beat New Zealand. Of course we knew it was on. And everyone started to find out, all right, Australia was as soon as we made the semi-finals, people got interested again. I keep telling you, unless Australia's winning at rugby, no one cares. As soon as the word got around in everyone's groups, hold on, we're in. Everyone started watching the Sevens at about 6 o'clock last Sunday night. That was about it.
Let us finish with it. I'm going to ask you this most weeks, of course, but because it's the first time that we've spoken this year, I do this to you every year, don't I? Okay.
All right.
Because we need to finish. We need to finish with some light relief. Are you going to win the Bledisloe Cup this year?
No, because we'll be so tired after we've beaten the British and Irish Lions 3-0 that we'll probably throw a bunch of 20-year-olds just to build for the future.
Is an Australian team going to win Super Rugby?
That's interesting. No. But we are going to beat you at the Bledisloe. That's all you want, isn't it? You just want me to say, Australia, this is our year. Since 2002, we've had a little bit of a drought. Well, it's going to be a flood of victories. We're going to beat the Lions this year, and we're going to beat New Zealand. We're going to give it to Fiji as well. We're going to beat everybody.
Australia's going to get the Bledisloe, just like the Warriors are going to win the NRL Premiership, people. Thanks, Greg.
Oh. Go the Warriors.
Devlin. The Tide 5.
5 separate sporting topics, Lachlan, roughly a minute and a half on each of those. And when the bell goes ding, we move on to the next topic. Before I even start, a lot of social media reaction to the Carson Wentz bobblehead you gave me. Absolutely brilliant present. Look, if you're going to buy a mate a present and you're getting him something sporting, get him, if he supports any teams in the state, get him a jersey with the guy he hates the most on the back. If you buy me a Man United jersey at the moment, you'd get one with Rashford on the back, right?
Yeah. Or Lingard, maybe. Get an old school Jesse Lingard one.
What are we talking about?
Paul Pogba.
Oh, yes. I tell you what, I need a buff rag for the car. We're talking Beauden Barrett backs NZR's eligibility rules as they stand at the moment. Steve Smith is the fourth Aussie to score 10,000 test runs. Latrell is available to play. How convenient is this, both him and Addo Carr, after their indiscretions? Champions League, well, it's just such a convolute. If you thought the Super League thing, which was meant to be dead a couple of years ago, was dead, no. This Champions League is actually the de facto new Super League. Lewis Hamilton crashed his car. Every time this guy gets near a Ferrari, it is big news. I am on the Lewis train this year. Let us kick it with Beauden Barrett. And in a press conference at Blues Training yesterday, he says, hey, yes, I think NZR have got some backbone and I back their current eligibility rules, meaning guys like Richie Mo'unga and Shannon Frizzell can't come back and play for the All Blacks. A couple of aspects to this, Lachlan. One being that it's very rare that anyone stands up for New Zealand rugby, so I applaud you, Beauden Barrett. And just cheekily, might I suggest that, is there a little bit of, hey, well, it's quite good that Richie's not coming back, because if he comes back, well, then where do I go? Do I go to 15? Well, Damien would take that. Well, where am I in the team? I'm not so sure that clouds his thinking, but I'm impressed that Beauden Barrett, and he's a senior All Black, and his voice, it really counts, actually has come out and said this, because most of the time the players duck this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what his involvement in the media was when this was really a talking point last year, when Damien McKenzie wasn't
He didn't say anything. Like, none of them said
no one did. So I think that's when you say something. It's not so much now after the fact that it's been, Richie Mo'unga's not coming back. So, I mean, I can get why he'd say that, because, as you say, it allows him to have more of a clear future around his playing position for the All Blacks. At the same time, I hated the idea of Richie Mo'unga coming back, because you got to look to the future. We're not really doing that because Beauden Barrett's playing in that position probably for us in 2025 anyway. At the same time, competition's good, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
So
I just want the best guy in that jersey that the All Blacks can select, whoever that is. I don't mind who it is. And if it was Richie Mo'unga, yeah, I'm voting for him. So I don't agree with you, Beauden Barrett, on this. I wanted Richie back, but I actually like the fact you've gone into bat for New Zealand rugby. Steve Smith. Yes, him. But let's celebrate the fact that he is the fourth Aussie to score 10,000 test runs, 15th man in total. It's a hell of a milestone. Who are the other three off the top of your head? And
three Australians.
Don't say Don Bradman, because he was 6'9", 6'. He didn't play. He only played 48 tests.
He didn't play enough to get there, surely.
48 tests.
Okay. Ponting's got to be one of them.
Got to be one.
Only because he kicked on a little bit, it felt sort of later on in his career. Michael Clark?
No. I'll say Captain Grumpy.
Oh, Border?
Yes, Alan Border. And the other Captain Grumpy.
My father, Steve Waugh.
There you go, those three. So to have your name amongst that list and to have your name amongst the 15 that have done it. Look, it says longevity, doesn't it? It also says application, concentration, technique, all of those kind of things. Yeah, it does. So, it's not, again, ever I'm going to applaud any Australian cricketer, especially this guy, who I thought the way that whole sandpaper thing was handled. Remember the old tears at the press conference and the David Warner carrying
7 years ago.
Okay,
7 years
forgive
ago.
and forget. No, you're a goddamn cheat, mate. But I will celebrate today the fact that you have achieved this. The other thing about the Sri Lankan Australian Cricket Test Series, don't look for it on Sky.
Oh, I was about to bring this up. I was looking for it last night.
No, last night I tuned in and guess what they had? An under-19 women's match between Sri Lanka and Australia.
You're reading my mind.
Where the hell's the test match, mate?
I tell you what, my flatmate, if he's listening to this, will agree and be yelling at his phone or his TV or whatever. We were looking for it last night, couldn't find it.
I went yelling at one of the top brass of Sky about this yesterday, and on behalf of a few people who had messaged me about it, and he said back to me, he said, listen, it's like the Rugby World Cup. You aren't allowed to play the final unless you also play the third and fourth place playoff. You aren't allowed to play the T20 World Cup on your broadcast channels unless you also buy the Under-19 Women's World Cup.
Well, no, but more importantly, why don't we have the Australia-Sri Lanka Test Series?
Yeah, well, I mean,
we have every other Australia series.
No, he didn't answer that question. It's honestly, Sky TV, look at who it is that pays the Sky bill. It isn't 19-year-old women. It's guys like us. Look after your customers one time.
I mean, nothing against the Under-19 World Cup, of
No,
course.
nothing at all, but
you know,
I mean-
that's fine. But we want
Well, how many
Test
people
cricket.
are watching that? Let's be honest. How many people are watching that, tuning in to watch that?
There might be some people watching it.
Parents and friends.
People like me and you probably
Parents
watched it
and
for
friends.
about 10 seconds and went, hold up, this isn't the men's test between Australia and Sri Lanka. What's going
From
on?
the duck, dive, dodge department, Latrell Mitchell is available to play for Souths in the opener. So is Addo Carr. He can play the opener as well for his new club. Why? Because they are using the Indigenous All-Stars game as their suspension game.
No, that's not right.
Remember Addo Carr tested positive for cocaine because he was out getting a phone charger. Latrell was photographed bending over a table where white powder was on it. Just jokes.
Hold up, they only got one game for these
Just jokes.
incidents, did they? Jeez.
Just
That can't be right.
jokes. What it says to me here is the NRL seems to have accepted the fact that their players are going to do recreational drugs, and if they get caught, it is nothing but a slap on the hand with a salt shaker, isn't it? It really is.
Well, let's be honest. What the Indigenous Māori All-Stars game is. It's a trial. It's a parade. It's not a competitive fixture.
yeah, but
it's
it's
like,
meant to be something more important than you use it just to dodge a suspension.
yeah, well,
isn't it?
it is,
I
but
think
you know,
it's disrespectful.
and it's a nice occasion. But it's pre-season. It's not really that important in the
right.
great scheme. Remember Nathan Brown got you know not in trouble, but people didn't like the fact that he took some of his Warriors when he was the Warriors coach, took players out of that game because he wanted them to be ready for the season and
It's
not risk
so
injury.
convenient, isn't it,
But
for
anyway-
Latrell in the NRL?
You know, no, you should be serving that
Should be
suspension
serving
in the
that suspension.
NRL.
Exactly. You know, it
What's
should be
going
taken
on?
seriously. If you're posting photos of yourself, like whoever was the other guy that they're waving the
Valentine
there you
Holmes,
go. I mean,
Kalen Ponga, and was it Kurt Mann
well,
in the
so,
bathroom?
So many
Yeah.
of they were just discussing house prices. Remember, but I mean,
No, they got into a relationship. You know.
It's either do you come down hard and actually make an example of some of these guys or not? And obviously the NRL, as I say, are turning a blind eye to it.
They've done this for years, though.
Lewis Hamilton crashed his F1 car, was in the news today. It was a revamped 2023 F1 car that he's testing for Ferrari. But I'm bringing this up because every time he goes anywhere near a Ferrari car at the moment, if he's standing next to one, posing it on Instagram, whatever, it makes news. This is the biggest story in F1, is it not?
Yeah, I'm trying to think in my time as a fan. I'm not one of these Drive to Survive fans. I picked up F1 actually in Lewis Hamilton's rookie year because he set like a record for the most successive podium finishes for a rookie. But I can't think of a driver change or move that has actually made this much
This is what I'm talking about.
noise. When Fernando Alonso went to Ferrari, that was a big deal.
This is
Even when Lewis went to Mercedes, it was sort of like, what are you doing? Why are you going to Mercedes? And then,
I mean, I go all the way back to Michael Schumacher, and when he went to Ferrari, I just can't. I mean, okay, it's the news cycle's different these days, but that was a Ferrari.
But also, that wasn't a 7-time champion going to Ferrari. That was a 2-time champion
There
who
you go.
then enjoyed the peak of his career.
I'm
at
on the
Ferrari.
Lewis train this year, Lewis. That means that you won't win a race. I mean, because every time Devlin endorses anyone in sport or
So you don't like Lewis, do you?
No, I really don't. I don't normally. But I love the fact he's driving for Ferrari. He's 40 years old, which is what worries me, okay? Because if he was...
Is he 40?
If he's 30 years old, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's got a real chance against Verstappen.
Well, I actually don't think the age really... But motorsport's brilliant because the car can paper over the cracks in your skill set. Now, there's no cracks in Lewis Hamilton's skill set, but he's a bit older, so physically he can't, cope with the demands of motor. And there's a lot of physical demands. People don't understand how
what
much...
about just your basic things like reaction time, your eyes, that kind of thing?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
those worsen with age, surely.
do.
But,
Believe me.
a lot of people are predicting on podcasts and articles and whatnot all over the internet that Ferrari are going to be better this year. People are not. McLaren are confident in themselves. People think that Red Bull won't be as good.
Exciting, eh?
So Lewis might be in contention. Who knows?
It's going
We'll
to
see.
it'll be a great season finally. Champions League. I was trying to explain this on the sports news on the sound this morning. It's just like you need an equational mathematical degree in applied physics to be able to figure it. Look, 32 teams, the top 8 qualify. Then from 9 to 25, those teams play a 2-legged playoff. With the teams from 9 to 16 get the home advantage, and then the winners of that then go into the round of 16. Follow me here.
Yes.
Then there's quarterfinals, then there's semi-finals, then there's a final. 15 games this year to win the Champions League. That's almost like half a season. And
Well, it's only 2 more than you had to win before, wasn't it? 13
but
before?
it's increasing. When Man United won the treble in 99, it was 11 games. It's increasing slowly. They're slipping this one in. A few years ago, that Super League idea was floated, and worldwide fans just said, no. This, mark my words, is going to be the Super League. In another 3 or 4 years, it'll be 19 games.
Well-
then it'll be 23 games. Then before you know it, the best players will be playing this, and they won't be playing for their clubs in their leagues.
Because the Super League was the best clubs in the world. Was it the 10 or or 16 or whatever best clubs in the world, in Europe, branching off and doing their own thing. Now, the Champions League aren't going to go from however many teams are at now. What are they at, 32 now? Something ridiculous.
Wait till they add the 2 teams from Saudi Arabia, people.
Well,
okay.
They're not going to then whittle it down.
It's coming. It's coming, mate. This is all coming.
Well, no, because the Super League was different. So
put
what you talk about are totally different.
Put a date
So the problem with the Super League was it was the best clubs leaving the others for dust.
Same people behind it, mate.
No, but what you're saying doesn't make sense. So what, are UEFA going to totally diminish the number of teams and create a new sort of ultra Champions League?
Because my team never plays.
Yeah, exactly. If Man United were in it, you'd be praising and jumping around and celebrating that, we're in the Champions League. Revamped Champions League. Biggest fan.
I hate it when you bring truth to an argument. Super Bowl. It's the biggest sporting event in the United States. It's one of the biggest sporting events in the world. The numbers are just mind-blowing, aren't they? To buy a 30-second ad, about 7 million. By the time that you add in the celebrity fees and every single production fees, it's probably about 10, 12, maybe 15 million US for a 30-second ad. And you can't buy one anyway because they're all booked out since last November. Ticket prices. The cheapest, $11,000 for a ticket to a sports event. Up to $70,000 if you want the corporate bash and lash. We're talking Super Bowl with our great mate HK Wong at FB Garbage Time. He has been our NFL correspondent for a number of years now. We love you to bits, mate. I've got 2 questions for you. Who's going to win and why?
Well, I mean, I think that if I have to just give you the end result of my analysis, I'm going to say the Eagles actually win this game.
Wow.
And let me tell you why. Now, listen. I'm not taking anything away from the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs have done a miraculous job this season. They are in their 5th Super Bowl in 6 years. They obviously beat Josh Allen again 4 times in the postseason. They are in the verge of a three-peat, the first ever in NFL history. But keep in mind the Chiefs have the most one-score wins of any team this year. I mean, 12 one-score wins in 19 games this season. And that means something. It means in close games, there's a chance for teams that are well able to take advantage of that. And who's better able to take advantage of that than the Eagles and actually Saquon Barkley? The fact of the matter is that the Chiefs allow 113.2 rushing yards per game during the regular season, and actually 4.5 yards per carry.
Yeah,
Saquon Barkley does that before he gets up in the morning, right? So, I mean, the fact of the matter is that he's going to be able to take them apart, I think, in the Super Bowl, and they're going to be able to wear him down. Now, the fact of the matter is that Jalen Hurts is not 100%, but they can still get those short yardage pickups. They're automatic at 2 yards out. The Chiefs won't be able to take the ball away from them like they did with the Bills. Remember, they were able to seal up the game last in the conference championship against the Bills on a 4th and 5 by bringing all-out blitz pressure. They bring all-out blitz pressure against the Eagles, and they're going to lose because of the fact that Saquon Barkley can take a ball out around a corner. Jalen Hurts can actually run it himself. He can also dump it off to one of his myriad receivers, including Dallas Goedert, who's having a resurgent playoffs in over the last couple games. So I think that they're going to have some serious issues. They are putting pressure on the Eagles. I think that the Eagles will have a chance to win this on the ground, which is exactly what they want to do. And don't forget that Eagles defense is absolutely brilliant right now. Listen, we all hate Nick Sirianni, right? We hate the head coach, Nick Sirianni of the Eagles. He's a pompous douchebag. He's essentially the jerk you knew in school who thought he was better than everyone because he stole lunch money from the blind kid in your class. He's an idiot, but he is brilliant when it comes to football. And the fact that he picked up Zach Bound, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean in the offseason, he has made that defense not only opportunistic, but also incredibly good at defending the pass. That's something that can really shut down Patrick Mahomes and all his passing options, including Travis Kelce. So I do think this will be a close game. I think the Eagles are going to end up taking this one.
Final question then. All right. So just in terms of, and I always ask you this the neutral fan, you've got KC, the idea of making history, doing something that no other team has done before. Teams have gone back to back before. The Patriots have done it. The Packers have done it. The Cowboys have done it. Denver has done it. So, what do people want? Do they want to see that history? KC with the Taylor Swift factor involved that you can't ignore, or do they want to see somebody spoke that wheel? And even though I detest Philadelphia, not just because of what they did to my Commanders, because they're a divisional rival. And who would even support a team like that throws snowballs at Santa? What does the neutral want? Who does the neutral want?
So let me just say this. this is the game that no one wants to see in the United States. No one wants
to see
Bowl.
either team.
Everyone
right?
hates the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Everyone hates the Eagles. That being said, they do not want to see history. Nobody wants to see a three-peat of the Chiefs at this point. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the biggest trash talker on this side of the planet. I don't know if you saw the tweet he sent out where he said it's a horrible day to be somebody from Buffalo right after they beat them down, and it wasn't even heck big of a beatdown. I'm just saying he is unpopular amongst regular fans. People are sick of seeing Taylor Swift there. They're sick of her bringing all her friends there. They're sick of Blake Lively. They're sick of everything. I don't think that they want to see the Chiefs win, but they will tune in because they want to see the Chiefs get beat. The NFL knows that evil villains bring in big crowds. Just like the Patriots did for 20 years, the Chiefs are doing now. Unfortunately, the Eagles are also villains, but they are not as big a villain as the Chiefs. So I can guarantee you that the majority of the watching public outside of Kansas City are going to be rooting for the Eagles, even though they hate it. And they're not going to be wanting to see the Chiefs win three-peat. That's definitely not something that people want to see outside of Kansas City.
DSPN.
Every Thursday on the show, courtesy of JK's World of Golf, we welcome the doyen. Man with so much broadcasting experience in this country. A great old mate. We began radio sport together. I haven't seen you in the flesh since then, so Happy New Year, dude. I mean, I know it's the end of January, but Happy New Year.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great year for me so far. 4 hours into the year, at 4 o'clock on New Year's Day, I woke up...
You were partying? Tell me you were partying.
No, I wasn't. I woke up with a terrible pain in my side, and I knew straight off it was a kidney stone. And
this is old man stuff. Yeah.
No, it isn't. I've been having them for 50 years. So I got my first one in my 20s, and they are just a pain in the
Now,
arse.
you used to have to, and I hate to be graphic here, they used to have to come down the pipe, right? Can they get it out?
Well, it turns out I don't have a kidney stone. I have some sort of problem with my kidneys. But since January the 1st, I've been rocking and rolling between clinics, radiology clinics, doctors, urologists, GPs. But they keep saying, Brendan, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you, so just keep living. So here I is.
We're talking golf. We're talking golf. We're talking tennis, and rugby is back, Brendan. But I want to kick it off with TGL Golf, okay? This
the
is
Golf League.
This is this new virtual golf team sport, and Tiger's team played Rory's team the other day. Look, I've been flicking in to see whether I can be interested in this. The way it works, people, is that you get the best golfers in the world. They're in teams, but it's all virtual, okay? They stand in front of a big kind of movie-like screen. They hit a ball, and you know if you've ever played kind of PlayStation golf or whatever, there's a crowd in the background that are going, Rory, Rory, and there's a guy standing there getting them to chant at the right time and everything. I find it infantile. I mean, I love the Masters, but I can't get into this. But this isn't for me, and it's not for you.
That's right. It's rubbish, basically, by traditional golfing standards. But there is a concern in golf, as I think there is in every sport, concerned about whether there's enough young people coming into a sport. And so golf, because it is, I mean, in New Zealand, for example, the average age of a member of a golf club in New Zealand is nearly 60. That's so there's concerns at golf club level, at our club. You know, we're not getting enough young people coming into it. So Tiger and Rory get round a boardroom table of multinational companies and money starts to flow. And they came up with what is a brilliant sort of kind of technical concept. As you say, it's virtual golf. It's all done in a shed. That's a purpose-built shed, 1,500 people. I call it darts television. It's like we see with darts. You fill it up with booze, cigarettes, smoke, and chat.
Loud music.
And then you've got these golfers talking to each other while one of them's playing a shot. But it's designed to, I guess, get young people in America watching golf. And so, therefore, they've got this team concept, Boston playing New York, Houston playing Seattle, which, what does it mean to us? It means nothing. I watched it, and I'm in admiration of what they've technically achieved to do. It must have cost them millions of dollars to put this together. So Rory tees off from a tee inside this big shed, and he hits it onto a screen, and it goes down a virtual fairway, and then he plays his next shot onto a virtual green and so forth. I guess you and I are both too long in the tooth, but all sports are doing this if you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, cricket's got its T20, sailing's got its GP up and down the Auckland Harbour the other day.
Fast 5.
Yeah, rugby league 10s, rugby 7s.
Yeah, right, okay. Everyone's condensing their sport to make it shorter for the attention span, the lack of.
They want results within an hour. And
well, the NBA's become basically an Instagram sport these days. People just watch 10 seconds of highlights. That's what they watch with the NBA. So, look, okay, it may not be for us, but I recommend that you have a look at it and decide for yourself. Golf question. question. I was just thinking the other day when Daniel Hillier got his second finish and he got $1.8 million, and you add in Ben Campbell, who's now been picked up by Liv. You've got Ryan Foxy, of course, who's going great guns. You've got Danny Lee. I probably missed a couple out. Is this the strongest that we've been in New Zealand men's golf for a very long time?
Potentially it might be, but no. There was a period, I can't remember the year, but it was when we were at the Radio Sport, and I used to do a little golf show every Thursday with guys from JK's World of Golf. And I remember saying to Philip Tatarangi one day that this is amazing, Philip. We've got more golfers in the top 100 in the official world golf rankings. We had more than England. We had Turner, Greg Turner. We had Frank Nobilo. We had Grant Waite. We had Michael Campbell. We had Phil Tatarangi and one or two others. We had about 6 or 7 golfers.
Wow, okay.
Now we've got, I'm not even sure we've got any in the top 100. I think Foxy's just outside the top 100. And Daniel Hillier, with that win a couple of weeks ago in the desert, has jumped from about 300 to about 130. So he could get in the top 100. Right. But yes, potentially.
It feels like a golden age.
And Ben Campbell, we talked about him at the end of last year. He's had a fantastic run over the last 12 months. He's hardly got a mention here in New Zealand, but he made $2.5 million last year.
Bad, is it?
And so Liv picked him up.
Yeah.
And so he's on the pig's back for 1 year anyway if he can hang on to his ticket and Live Golf. So, yeah, and a lot of these guys are going to be playing in the New Zealand Open in a month or so's time. So that's now become not just our most important golf tournament, but John Hart and the guys that run it have done a fantastic job in promoting it in Asia. And so we're going to have something like 10 of the top 20 Japanese golfers playing in the New Zealand Open. The names won't mean anything to you or much to me.
That's massively significant because that just means that television audience comes with it as well.
So
and golf in Japan, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the major sports.
So there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of growth.
Golf,
but in America, that's not enough. So they're competing with all these other sports. And I think also the team sport concept is coming from the fact that Live Golf push team golf. That's one of the reasons why Campbell's got a spot on one of these teams with Bubba Watson's the captain of his team. And so they push this team sport. I've got no interest in it. The only team sport I want, the only 2 events I like are the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. The rest of it is stroke play, match play, individual sport. That's golf. But
let's talk tennis in the Aussie Open. And you sent me a text the other day. I thought this was great. You said that you love it. You think it's like the Masters.
Well, I think it's better than a major championship golf.
Wow.
It's so compelling. I lived on the sofa for a week and a half. Traditionally, I've always taken a passing interest in the first week of the Aussie Open because one's playing 128, two's playing 127, and they're walkover matches, and men's and women's. But this year, I noticed even in those early rounds, the top guys were really being pushed to get through the next round.
I watched a couple of 5 sets. I actually flicked over one Wednesday or Thursday, and 2 matches were going into 5 sets, and I actually sat there and watched them. Look, the crowd gets into it. I love that for a fact. It's like it's boisterous and loud like the US Open.
Darts TV.
But it's also at a time of year when there's hardly any other world-class sport on. And because it's a Grand Slam event, you get all the very best players there.
And it's on at perfect time
for
from
us.
About 6 o'clock to midnight each night. And so,
but a couple of things. Okay, so, Novak spits the dummy, of course. Ben Shelton gets upset because a couple of tough questions get asked by interviewers afterwards.
Let's deal with Djokovic for a start off.
Right. Well, you don't like him?
No, I've never had any time for him, basically, as a person. He's probably, without doubt, the best tennis player the game's ever produced. But he got up on his high horse and delivered this moral sermon denouncing the sports reader or news reader on Channel 9 who was doing his sports news live from Melbourne Park, and behind him was a group of shall we say inebriated
Serbian fans
who just watched Djokovic put Alcaraz away, so they were in fine form. The poor guy was trying to read his sports news and was just getting it from these guys behind him. So in the spirit of the occasion, at the end of his bulletin, you probably saw the little clip, he turned around and gave them a bit of jip by way of a bit of a banter. And next minute, Djokovic at his press conference, first of all, he refused to do an interview because this guy had been so disrespectful to the Serbian people. And I'm saying, hey, hold on, Novak, what about you in 2022 when you got on a plane and flew to Australia knowing that you were unvaccinated and weren't going to be allowed in the country? And sure enough, Morrison, the Prime Minister, and his immigration mates turned him around, put him...
Brendan, ticked the box on the form at immigration saying he was vaccinated. That's called falsifying a document.
So they
called.
send him packing the next day, and then he has the cheek to come down here. I think what's at work here with Djokovic, he's still bitter about the way he was treated when he came.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember that he said he got poisoned.
Food poison while he was here.
That's right. Yeah.
And so he won't let go of this thing he's got about Australia. But the Australian Open is fast becoming, after Wimbledon, the next best thing of the major Grand Slam events. So he had to get back here. So I was very pleased to see that he didn't
They're talking about putting a statue of him outside Melbourne Park.
Yeah,
because he's won it 10 times.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's a fantastic player. And that match against Alcaraz was a match for the ages, wasn't it?
Yeah, top class tennis. But the right guy won the tournament, and that Sinner is just unbeatable on those surfaces.
And on this clown Shelton, those interviews after the matches have been brilliant. They touch on from briefly, one or two things about the match, and then they get into some really nice stuff personally. These guys, they've done their research. Someone's done it for them, and the tennis players, including Shelton, they enter into it.
No, look, they're precious, mate. I mean, these people get somebody holding a brolly over their heads. Okay, I mean, they get somebody handing them a towel. They get somebody handing them the balls to play with. You're playing bloody tennis, mate, for a job.
And the other thing I'd like to see happen, someone's got to do something about Sabalenka and that yelling that she goes on with every time she hits the ball.
Well, didn't Sharapova used to do that as well?
Yeah,
she used to scream and yell.
But Sabalenka's taken it to another length, and what she's doing also, if you go back and have a look at it, she's often continuing the yell with 2 or 3 syllables, almost at the time when the player who she's playing is about to play.
Do you?
And I'm sort of wondering whether there is a little bit of gamesmanship going on.
Okay, I mean, and if you're thinking it's probably...
Ban it, stop it.
Well, how do you stop somebody expelling air when they hit a tennis ball?
Well, you can. I mean, some blokes do it, but they don't go on and on and on, and they're not screaming their heads off. So I was pleased that she didn't win either. So all in all, it was a very good couple of weeks.
Let's finish with the R word, mate. Rugby is back this weekend. Super Rugby pre-season. Look, it's meaningless in terms of the results. You're absolutely irrelevant. But there's a match in Kirwi in rural Canterbury, which means 3,000 good Canterbury folk get to see their teams. It means that Super Rugby is only a couple of weeks away, and we get the Six Nations starting this weekend. Don't tell me you didn't miss your rugby, mate.
And it means every night of the week, and it started last night, we're going to get well-known rugby players standing in front of the television camera saying, no, this is going to be tough, it's going to be tough. We've got competition of every position in the ground.
Great to be back with the boys.
It was great to be back. And boy, it's going to be tough. And we've been training well, but we've been really, really training well.
Well, they've got nothing to talk about because there's nothing to talk about.
And even when the rugby starts, it'll be the same stuff. But no, I always go through this thing that it's been a weird cricket season because we haven't had any Test cricket since early December. The super, what do they call it? Super smash. It's super boring, isn't it?
No one's watching it. I mean, that's the truth of it. No disrespect, but no one's watching.
And New Zealand cricket's raving on about how wonderful it is when there's Williamson and Ferguson and someone else playing in South Africa and a couple of guys playing in the big back
I tuned
league.
In the other day, Canterbury playing. I don't know even who it was. Might have been Northern, and there were 4 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I looked at that Auckland team last night that played in that match. They had to win, and they didn't deserve to win. They were terrible with their batting and their fielding. And there was Mark Chapman, and the rest of them I don't think I'd ever heard of. And as you say, 3 people and a dog turn up to watch these games. But and yet in Australia, the BBL is getting 30 and 40,000 a game. We all know about the IPL, and there's these IPLs, these T20 leagues all around the world, and all these guys are getting well paid. But too hard for me to work out why we haven't got onto it in New Zealand. I think
too small, mate, and everyone, as you say, gets more money to go somewhere else.
But thank goodness this summer has produced 2 fantastic Test series, the one in India where we won, and the India-Australia series.
Which was just brilliant.
Yeah.
That's our podcasting show for today. Again, if you're liking what you're listening and what you're seeing, then a small favour, if you will. Can you please hit like, share, subscribe, follow? Tell a friend about it. We are a fledgling podcast and show, the DSPN, and we need you. And if you are participating, well, just click that subscribe button. That would help enormously. Thank you so much if you already have. Again, tell a friend if you like. We're doing this every single day, putting out a show every afternoon. The DSPN.
This is the DSPN.